Thank you very much. Hello everyone, welcome to the Yas Marina circuit for this, the Michelin 6 hours of Abu Dhabi qualifying session, which will set the grid tomorrow for round 2 of the Middle East Trophy. And I am absolutely delighted to be joined in the commentary box today by somebody making their first ever visit to the Yas Marina circuit, the ever eloquent Mr. Bruce Jones. Welcome to Yas, Bruce.
Thank you, I'm loving it. Here I am, the novice in the box with you, really stage set, but this is going to be quick fire. We've got potentially 52 cars. We think it's 51 who are going to cram into this track for 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. It's going to be on tiptoe.
Most definitely. It's just one of those sessions that, with so many cars and with the limited amount of laps that they can do with their fuel load and their tyres, it really has been, you know, we saw it in Dubai where we had split between, we had GT3 do their own, 992 do their own, and then GTX, GT4 and the TCE do their own. They're all out together.
Really a nice shot of my yacht there. I brought that for the weekend. But yeah, 3 15-minute sessions, 50-odd cars, 26 of those in the top class in GT3. And they've got to do each of those sessions and get, it's an aggregate across the three. We will bore you with the numbers as we go through there, but it's about, are you going to be right on your maximum or a little in check? Because there could be someone just rotating in front of you, and you've got to be able to avoid them. And
spoiling your lap when you're on limited fuel and you want to keep your tyres good, could be yellow flags, could be red flags, you know, and you only can fuel to the maximum amount of laps that you want to do in this session. So it's completely different to what we had previously in Dubai last weekend for the Michelin 24 Hours of Dubai. Let's have a look at the weather here at the moment. 21.1. Sunset's going to happen very, very shortly. 56% humidity, but we've got some wind out there today, and it's going to play a little bit of havoc with the cars out on the circuit.
It certainly will. Even from first thing this morning when we got to the circuit, the wind was blowing down the pit straight. But again, it's a funnel between giant grandstands either side. But as you say, sunset coming at 3 minutes to the top of the hour, so the third of the sessions the sun will have dropped behind the horizon.
Yes, but this is a Formula 1 circuit and it is fully brightly lit. Very different to what we had 7 days ago up in Dubai Autodrome for round 1 of the Middle East Trophy. And there are all the cars in pit lane ready to go.
This is the 5th running of the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi, and this is a great sight. That says growth, global interest, and what a great double header. You know, for years now, obviously going to Dubai, people love the circuit. This is something different, but for a lot of drivers to race on a pucker Formula 1 Grand Prix circuit, and this, when the Formula 1 cars came with the World Championship, people were blown away by Yas Marina, and no wonder this field is growing and growing. But 50-plus cars is going to be tricky around here in these 3 qualifying sessions.
Green light in pit lane. Green light in pit lane. Let's head down to the pit lane, and it's a very warm welcome to the Yas Marina circuit to John Hindorf.
And Diana Bink standing alongside me as well. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Bruce. You mentioned the wind, missus. If Seb just pans across to his left-hand side, the flags on the pit lane are telling you just how windy it is down here. I wonder about the tactics here, Di. Who will go out straight away, try and get what we might call a banker lap in? Who might wait till the end and wait till there's a few cars fewer on the circuit?
Well, they've got to go out in this session. You've got the AM driver goes out in this part of qualifying. A number of cars sitting here on the pit apron waiting, so there's quite a bit of strategy coming into play. But you're absolutely right about the weather. That's going to make a fair amount of change tonight during these sessions. And look at my hair already, it's all over the place.
I know, I've got the same problem, can't do anything with it. Talked to the teams up and down pit lane, and it will surprise you not at all, gentlemen and lady, to hear they've all said, qualifying, it's a 6 hour, it doesn't really matter, we're not going to put ourselves in any kind of jeopardy with 50 cars out there. Do you think we believe that in any way, shape or form?
None whatsoever. Every driver that gets the helmet on wants to have the performances, the best performance they can for themselves and for the team, and they just take it minute by minute. So I think they could be in for a few surprises tonight for sure.
1 set of Michelin tyres for the 3 15-minute sessions. That's not really a problem. We saw how consistent the new Michelin tyre for 2025 is in qualifying up at Dubai a week ago. The real joker in the pack, gentlemen, here is setting the fuel level right now, before these cars go out of the pits, because once they're out there, you cannot add fuel to the cars. If there's a couple of red flags in session 1 and 2, you may only leave your final driver with enough fuel to do 1 or maybe 2 flying laps. This could be really exciting as it develops. Can't wait to get underway.
Thanks very much, John. Either can we, and we are underway. 12 minutes 35 seconds to go on this. It's the first cars out navigating the Yas Marina circuit. It's 5.281 long kilometres long, 16 corners, 9 to the left, 7 to the right, and it's an anti-clockwise circuit.
Right, let's just go over those numbers again. 50 plus cars coming out on the circuit, about a dozen are still in the pit lane.
Yep.
Drivers, just seeing one of the Ferraris there getting a little bit loose, and that's because they're trying to get the heat into their tyres and get going on their second lap, their first flying lap, if you will. And car number 8 pushing on very hard indeed. That's Into Africa Racing. That's run for them by Dragon Racing, the team based up in Dubai. But again, it's about not having a slip up. It's about trying to do your lap where there aren't the GT4 cars that are necessarily slower in your way. And the worst part of the circuit to get caught is coming out of the wonderful sweep at turn 9.
Yes.
And then as you work your way to and under the hotel, if there's someone in a slower class car ahead of you, and you've got to bottle it up, or do you take the risk? There are so many factors at play here. Not everybody potentially will get it right. Let's see.
Well, in fairness, we've got about 6 or 7, or probably 8 slow cars in the GT4 category and the TCE category. 3 in the GTs, so probably 9 cars that are not of the pace. But everything else is GTX, 992 or GT3. So that puts it on there as an incredibly fast grid. And at the moment, we've got 49 cars on track at this stage, so we're keeping an eye on that, as some people may just hold off a little bit, get out when somebody else is up to speed, so that they don't have anybody in their way.
Right, okay, the light is falling. We're looking quite frequently at Blake McDonald, who's out in car number 8. That's the Inter Africa Racing black and red. Well, a little slip up in front of him, or did the car pull over?
I think the 16 got out of his way. That's the Winwood Racing car. So they're just playing the game at the moment. They're just trying to get this sorted. Now, in this session, if you have an AM driver, they must compete in this session. If you only have 2 drivers, the driver who competes in this session must compete in the 3rd session. You can't go back to back. So all of the teams putting their AM drivers or their lowest ranked drivers, because we've got a couple of teams with semi-pros.
Yeah, and again, I was asking you earlier, I said I'm used to pro, semi-pro and AM. We have something called AM Plus, and that's because the official FIA driver rankings for this year have not yet hit the deck. It does really focus the mind. We're not that long after New Year.
Yep.
Great place to be. And just, you think it back 20 years ago, what happened in the closed season? Well, you went and did what you did in the closed season, but now you can race through the Northern Hemisphere winter. Well worth one. Now, a car that's really interesting to see is the, Yasser Shaheen, the Australian racer, getting moving. This is the car, the greatest, latest Evo version of the BMW M4 GT3.
Which won at its first time
exactly.
out at the Michelin 24 Hours in Dubai. Yasser Shaheen over from the Bend Motorsport Park in South Australia, just down the road from where I was born at Tailem Bend in South Australia. Done a great job with that. He's paired up with Charles Wirtz this weekend. Now, Charles Wirtz won a championship in 2018 here, Formula 4 UAE, but he's gone on to great things as well. And Timur Bogoslavsky is also on sharing that car. Now, they're just getting some time in before they head off to race in the WEC.
Indeed, but not with Charles Wirtz on board that car. But anyhow, he's out here. He's very much part of the furniture. His father, one of the founders of Team WRT. And when you look down the list of championships they've won, it's very long. I want to talk about a target time here. At the moment, it's 1:54. Just under 1 minute 54.4. That's 2 seconds, nearly down on the best pace so far set by Winwood Racing, car number 16. One of the Mercedes, and I stood on top of the pit building looking down onto turn 1 yesterday evening, and Mercedes AMGs just look on rails around that corner. Nailed down. The Ferraris are looser. The McLaren looks incredibly nimble, but the Mercedes look mighty. Okay, one of 16 turns, but certainly that is why the AMG Mercedes is a car that gives drivers an awful lot of confidence.
Well, in Dubai, they were struggling to stay in the top 10 for the first 12 hours of the race, even up to hour 15. But it was the car 7 of SMP Racing that got up there at the end and finished 4th in GT3 in that race. And the AMGs didn't have the best run, but we're at a completely different circuit this weekend where they've had a lot of success.
Yeah, and dust is something you don't have so much here. Car we've been just looking at is Alex Arca, because he's fastest by just over a second, 1 minute 53.0 seconds for the young German racer for Attempto Racing. It is the family team, but putting in a really good early run. And just remember, that means he's got a good lap on the board, and they could, if they feel like it, bring him in.
Yeah.
Give a bit more time before the second session, settle it down. And that's a very strong driver lineup in the 99 crew, because Alex Arca sharing with Jeff Michels, who's normally racing, of course, a Ferrari, and Yi Deng. But Alex is, if he's the AM driver in that pair, or the least experienced, least well pressed, then no wonder he's the quickest driver. And this was always going to happen. It was always likely someone might go for a spin. Didn't really interrupt those behind. And Broggi's car just comes through, he gets out the way. So it could potentially have affected the laps for 3 or 4 of those drivers. But
he's done a very sensible thing there. He can see down to turn 16 now by driving that. That's a very smart driver, because you can't see the cars coming around the corner, especially with these big headrests that they have on these cars and limited vision out of the rear vision mirrors as it comes down towards it. We'll pick the number up as it comes through. Just an unfortunate spin for the 73, and that is the Proton Hubert competition, and not sure who is at the wheel at the moment for that. That's George Dressler at the wheel for that one.
Okay, that means he's going to have to keep going possibly for a lap longer than he wanted. Don't think at that low-speed corner at turn 16 it should have shafted the tyres too much. But let's take a look at the replay. Just simply got slightly too close to the car in front of him. Maybe just lost his attention behind that 992 car. But anyhow, it was a very, very good and tidy recovery. But that will be running towards the end of the session. Talking of which, we have passed the halfway point. It's that quick fire here at Abu Dhabi.
Indeed. We've got Fabian Dans in the pits at the moment with the red Camel Jordans.NL car. The 909. Now they're our current championship holders in the Pro 992 Pro 992 category, returning to defend their 992 trophy in the Middle East.
Okay, settling down all over again, but 16 turns we are looking at around this circuit, and we're going to treat you to an onboard lap as the light falls over the Yas Marina circuit. Strap yourself in, take a ride around the circuit. Someone has gone for rotation, and dearie me, that's the number 33 Optimum Motorsport. No,
38.
Sorry, 38, I beg your pardon.
Turn 5.
Turn 5, and that's the WeBuyAnyPhone.com racing bus.
Oh, the 33's around as well. That's the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, and that has gone around.
Okay, Andrew Gilbert.
That's at the chicane. That's at turn 6, 7, in between the back straight as the IRC goes past.
Again, just point out we've got 50-plus cars trying to make space around the circuit, and for Optimum Motorsport, just that is why the BMW went around.
Yep.
So in terms of that, it was a pat on the side of the number 38 BMW. Just at the slow point, you've gone all the way down the longest straight, just turning in to turn number 6, and an assist of the driver hitting the inner door. It was the 111, wasn't it? It was the IRC GT from Australia. But again, just reiterate, it's such a long run down that back straight. You're just turning in, and if someone fancies the inside line, you don't expect it. So, is that you, John, wanted to come in?
The red Camel, Fabian Dans. No worries here, guys. This is the 909 car. They've pulled that car in and put it at 45 degrees. You're not allowed to take the tyres off unless you've got a damaged tyre. So this is absolutely planned. He's put his time in. They're out of any kind of issue. Just a moment ago when I was looking at the timing, you can check to see if this is still true. At the top of the timing, the Trezor Attempto Audi, that car was in pieces last week. The guys were saying that they wanted to try and get it rebuilt. Now, I haven't seen the car, but I'm led to believe, Phil, I think they've managed to acquire another car for this weekend. I cannot believe that they rebuilt the subframe after that big accident
Yes.
in this session last weekend up at Dubai Autodrome.
So they are in second position at the moment. It's Wimwood Racing leading the way, the 87. Silikov at the wheel of that, and it's Climax Racing, a new entry for this weekend. Didn't run last weekend, the Chinese entry. Zhang Hui at the wheel of that one. We're still on board with the 87 car, and that's Rinat Salikov at the wheel. Coming around turn 4 now, down past the race and drive school, now into a heavy braking zone, down into turn number 5. This is the new reprofiled circuit corner that happened in 2021, out over the ripple strips. Now, buckle up. They're heading down to the fastest sector of the racetrack. He's on the first sector of the long back straight, in 5th gear at the moment, and heading up into 6th gear very, very shortly. You can see the lights flash on the dash. No, he held it in 5th into the braking zone at turn 6. Now, this is quite steep uphill into turn 7, and you've just got to keep it all together. You don't want to run out too wide there. You get on those ripple strips and it upsets the car. Now we're heading up towards turn 8. We're going past the support paddock on the driver's right there, and now we're heading to turn 9, the new Parabolica here at the Yas Marina circuit. The drivers love this corner. Many lines in and many lines out. You can run side by side through here, out through here, getting the power down. This is where the tricky part. This is a double right-hander at turn 11 and turn 12. You're trying to take that flat, clip the apex at 12, and then on hard on the brakes into 13, down beside the hotel, into 14, off camber now. At the exits off camber, he's soaring away at the wheel. If you can keep one steering moment between those two corners, you're doing very, very well. Now this turn 15 had been opened up, and you can carry much more speed through here now, and then into the braking zone of the final corner, down into turn number 16. Don't do track limits here, and then you're across the start-finish line. That was 5.281 with... wow, that was a good lap.
Okay, well, the key there wasn't just that Rinat Salikov drove that very well indeed. He worked space on the track to move into.
Yes.
There was space in front of him. He improved to 1 minute 52.605. He's 0.4 of a second rather than 1/10 of a second faster than Alex Arca. The clock continues to count down, just 1 minute and 20 seconds to the end of the session. But Windward Racing have been looking very, very handy here indeed at the Yas Marina circuit. So the aquamarine and black Mercedes AMG GT3, top of the charts. Anybody likely to challenge? Well, I'll tell you what, the gap between Alex Arca in second and Alexander Prince going really well. Well, Prince is huge.
Prince just got through and put the number 2 car down there. Di Binks down in the pit lane. What do you got for us, Di?
I have the SMP Racing, the number 7 racing team. Mercedes AMG GT3 car is in the garage there. They did get tapped out on track, and they've just put the front bodywork back onto the car. There was a little bit of damage there, but they fixed it pretty quickly. Obviously not ideal for these guys. They said they wanted just to get their track time in during that first qualifying session, but they've worked pretty hard, and it looks like they will get back out on car. But we've seen a couple of cars that have actually had a couple of incidents, but it doesn't look anything major.
Thanks very much, Di. And the key there, though, they are actually, as we speak, just falling from 7th to 8th. However, we've got to build towards an aggregate across 3 sessions, and this one, they're 2 seconds down on the ultimate pace, but if they can get a decent second session run, likewise in the third session, it's all about keeping your averages good.
We have 5 Mercedes in the top 7. That is impressive.
So what I saw from the top of the grandstand was fairly accurate, but also the key, particularly in GT3 racing, when you've got the range from Ultra Pro down to AM, is have something that the AM driver feels comfortable with, and that was designed into that car. Of course, it's getting towards the end of its iteration.
Yeah.
The next Evo version will come along relatively soon. Of course, BMW were later in that cycle, and they're far more contemporary with their latest design. Down to John.
And you can see, if you have got the pictures punched up at the moment, just how tight it is here in this Abu Dhabi Yas Marina pit lane. With more than 50 GT cars here, even with the cars at 45-degree angles, there's just not enough room to have everybody in the pit lane at the same time. I'm surrounded by Porsche, Ferrari, AMG, and they're having to carefully maneuver the cars on the dolly jacks so that they can get them out of the fast lane. Now, this is in qualifying, and everybody's being fairly sensible. Fast forward to tomorrow and the first Code 60. This is going to get very hectic very quickly.
Stand sideways in the pit lane, not head on. But yeah, it's a busy, busy place. But of course, let's focus. The checkered flag has already fallen. There's only 5 minutes between it falling and the session going live for qualifying session number 2. Let's just run you down. Rinat Salikov in the 87 Shelby Winwood Racing Mercedes, top by in a reduced margin because Alex Zucker fought back in the 99 Tracer attempt to Racing Audi to be just 2.24, quarter of a second, thereabouts down on the Mercedes. A second of the Mercedes, really good run. Car number 11, Hofer Racing by Alexander Prince. I'd say, looking at that time, of course, it's the AM drivers against AM drivers, or the least highly ranked driver. But Alexander Prince showing that Hofer Racing are settling into running a GT3 car very well indeed. Third fastest for him.
Yeah, and then we have Andrew Gilbert in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, Sergei Stolikov in the Winwood Racing AMG, that 4th and 5th respectively. Climax Racing, Zing Yakui in 6th position. Hassar-T, Alexander Bekanstov, a local racer here who's raced over in Europe in LMP3, raced down in Dubai last weekend in 7th position in the Audi. And then Rima Jafali, our Saudi Arabian star in the Hupt Racing team, also raced last weekend in the Mercedes AMG. Denis Romanenko in SMP Racing, they were running quite a bit higher than that in 9th position. And Yasser Shahin from the Bend team, WRT, 10th.
You go before the beyond the top 3, and the next 7 cars are covered by half a second, so very, very close indeed. But just remind you, car number 87, Winwood Racing Mercedes, Rinat Salikov has laid down the marker. It's now on his 2 teammates to build on that. There are a few cars in the field. We'll come to that when the second session starts, and it'll have to be different for them. 2 drivers rather than 3. Yep, have to share it out. But the lights are coming on. The light is falling from the sky, and of course the famous hotel over the circuit is there as a backdrop. And here's a reminder: 3 sessions of 15 minutes each. Only 5 minutes between those sessions. Each session must be entered with a different driver. Driver change during the session is not allowed, but there frankly isn't the time. Qualifying 1 must be with an AM driver. We've got through that. Refueling is not allowed, as John said, during and between the qualifying sessions. Tyre change is not allowed. Of course, if you have a puncture, then it's a different equation. And removing tyres is not allowed unless they're flat or punctured. A lot to think about, but the clock is ticking around. 1 minute, 30 seconds. It'll go green for qualifying session number 2.
I'm just looking at how many laps people are doing at the moment, and what's stuck me is Abdullah Ali Al Khalifi in the QMMF by HRT. They're one of our reigning champions in 992 AM, 4 laps only, and qualified at the moment number 1 in AM. Very impressive.
Job well done. Cars already started to queue up at pit exit. Who's that wanting to talk from the pits?
It is I, Diana. I have the man that's just set the quickest time in that Q1 session, the number 87. Rinat Salikov, you were behind the wheel on that. How did you find it out there on the track?
I think conditions is right now is great. I mean, I think it's a very efficient grip. And the main issue was the traffic for sure. I think the luckiest guy who is in front, they just was manage the traffic in proper way. Or, I mean, it's just a luck at the end. I think I catch the lucky star, so that's why that's why the lap was so great.
What did you learn in the practice sessions going into qualifying, just to give you that extra confidence?
Yeah, for sure. The managing the traffic was like the biggest issue, and I think a lot of guys was focusing only on that, and that's true. I mean, this is the best way to show the time, because there is a lot of fast drivers, but you can see their lap times sometimes not how they are driving. So for sure, the traffic was the main issue, and I think we had like 2 days of testing, and I saw that everybody was focusing on that. So.
Well, it's a great start to this weekend for sure.
Thank you. Let's finger crossed to keep it like this.
Well, thank you very much, Di. What a gracious, I really like that coach.
Yes.
Quote, catch the lucky star. Very gracious of Rinat Salikov there, but we saw he worked the traffic supremely well. A lot of drivers, by the way, it is modern racing. Lap times disallowed. I won't run down the list because we'd have missed all the qualifying 2 by the time I'd finished, but a lot of drivers lost their quick times. But remember, 3 crews got out and got themselves clear of the rest. Winwood Racing, 87, Mercedes 99, Tracer attempt to Racing out. And, hats off to the number 11, Hofer Racing Mercedes crew. But right, we changed drivers around. 3 qualifying sessions. Session 1, tick, that is done. Session 2, will it be a clean one? Last one, actually, a couple of spins, relatively clear, but there was, as we saw with SMP Racing, a little bit of damage, and you just don't want to carry that forward in the next sessions.
No, indeed. So the incident involving car 38 and the 111 down at turn number 6 has been noted, and the team manager of car 102, that is one of our TCE cars, and it's the lone Asbest racing car. That is the Seat Leon Cup Racer. That is pre-TCR, that car. So he's got to go and have a chat with a race manager. Pit lane is open, 13.5 minutes to go in this session. Remember, this is the total time of all 3 sessions, the amalgamation of those 3 times and the average done after that will set your grid for tomorrow. Now remember, in Dubai we had a heap of cars with a 2-place grid penalty, and we were wondering why. And Nick Damon found out from Paul Trustwell, because the 909 got done, they failed to pull the pin on the fire extinguishers, and a heap of cars got done for that. Pros that. Ramaz Azam, a local driver here in Dubai, one of the driver coaches, 21-year-old Canadian, running this weekend in this beautiful Hassar-T Audi.
We've got day turning into evening, turning into night. And, you know, you often walk up and down a pit lane, look in the pit garage and go, that's a good-looking car. But some, you go, that's going to be good, whether it's day or night. And with a pale blue car, sort of mid to pale blue car with black flashes, but importantly, sort of day-glow yellow markings from nose to tail. It really is looking brighter and brighter as the sky conditions change before us. Right, let's remember a time, 1 minute 52.6 seconds. That is the time set by Windward Racing, and it's changed over from Rinat Salikov to Sergei Borisov in that car. A large number of Russian drivers on board that one of the Mercedes, but already out on track. Drivers are starting to strip each other up. We'll see how he ranks, because I certainly think that Rinat Salikov is a very, very good sort of least well-ranked driver in the team. He's been racing at GT3 level or thereabouts for a decade and more, and clearly he got a lot of confidence very quickly in his car, getting the heat into those Michelin tyres, getting them to work. And you said, you know, 2 weekends, Dubai and then here, totally different circuits.
Yes.
There, of course, in Dubai, it's about managing them as the dust comes across the track.
Indeed.
Not so.
Here, not so. It's about getting them into the optimum window to make them work. And the teams have had plenty of track time here this week, leading up to qualifying today. So they've all got a measure. They've made their setup changes compared to what we had for the Dubai 24-hour. We have a number of teams that didn't race at that. Now, to be eligible for the Middle East Trophy, you have to do both rounds. Okay, but we have at least 33 cars from Dubai down here competing for all of the classes for the Middle East Trophy this weekend.
Well, for 2 decades now, the Dubai 24 has been the best way to get the year kicked off. But just adding this race, this is the 5th running of the 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi. It's a fantastic supplement. To have the special cup for them to fight for is really something. Waiting for the first flying laps to be completed. We'll see what the pace is, how the track conditions are changing. And first few times coming in, 1 minute 54, but we haven't mentioned Into Africa's Racing's Ferrari too much. That went fastest in this session to go up to second on average, but we're not going to talk about that just for the moment, because with still 50 so drivers to set a flying lap in the second session, those times are going to change very quickly. But for now, Climax Racing go to the top, and Zhu Bizhuang, or Mike Zhu as he likes to be called, success in Dubai, or not success, second victory last year. He's back, and Climax Racing, again, a team from China that's really stretching its leg, and it just shows how this championship is drawing new faces to new places.
And I think that it's important because there are so many GT3 championships across the planet now, and getting into any of them is actually proving quite difficult. We've got a yellow flag out at turn 13, but it's quite difficult. And Creventic have read the room very, very well over the 20 years that we've been running in here in the Middle East, and over the 20 years that they've been running as well, of opening up classes for cars like the GTX class. Okay, you've got a car that's of GT2 spec that has a certain power to weight ratio, and we've got a KTM running in it this weekend. So it's brilliant for that. We've got the Vortex, so the 701 and the 702.
Last 702 didn't make it out in the first qualifying session, so we are dealing with the roundest of numbers. 50 cars, not 52. Toro Verde, unfortunately, there car was damaged a little too much, and Julian Westwood and the crew have been packing that one away to go home and build it up all over again as they sort of bounce into 2025. One crew was very lucky to have a spare Aston Martin, that's Earl Bamber Motorsport, because that was dropped yesterday. In fact, their driver lineup has been reduced. Munkong Tatian-Tirikul, who was driving it, is not competing anymore. They're down from 3 to 2. Now, what happens in qualifying, Phil, if you've only got 2 drivers?
Well, Setawan Santoso, who's their AM, has to go out for the first session. Obviously, we got Tanat Sathan-Tirikul going out for the second one, and then Setawan Santoso has to do the third stint as well. So he will know the car, except the tyres will be 15 minutes more used.
Yeah, and also, because night falls very quickly here, he'll have done a day session and a night session, ironically, within half an hour. But out on the field, right, the Tracer Attempter Racing Audi is one of the bunch that have got 2 times on the board. Their best average is 1 minute 53.5 seconds, so a good run there from Jeff Michiels. That's moved it ahead of SMP Racing. Remember, we heard from Dye in the pits talking about how that was damaged. Bit of, well, quite a lot of tank tape on the front is holding the nose section bodywork down in place. But Alexander Smolja at the wheel of that at the moment, he on aggregate is down by 0.2 of a second. Their first and second, Winwood Racing, 87, remember that number, they were fastest in the first session. They're sitting there in third, but Sergei Borisov is not yet matching the pace that was set by Rinat Salikov in that first qualifying session. But in fact, as we look at his car, he's got, I was going to say he's got clear track, suddenly the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini, you know, bright yellow with all those other coloured flashes that they've been running for so long as their livery, is sitting down in front of him. Doesn't look quite as fast. So for Sergei Borisov, he's got to work out where to put that car. Sorry, Alexander Smolja, of course, getting my Russians confused. Sergei's in the 87 Mercedes, and the 7 Mercedes is SMP Racing. Yeah,
Aaron Scott at the wheel of the Scott Put Sport Lamborghini, currently leading the GTX category. With quite a lead at the moment in that one. The second in GTX is the Vortex, and third is the KTM. Quite a few seconds back, but as we said, we're only a little way through this. Fastest lap time at the moment, 1:52.824. That's from the Garage 59. Adam Smalley in their McLaren is quick out there at the moment.
Yeah, well, I was just about to talk about somebody being quick, and then Adam set that time. But the driver I wanted to pick out is someone who's really impressing, very new to GT3, young German, Finn Wiebelhaus, out racing team number 4. Mercedes taken to it like a duck to water. He was second fastest in the session, but now we got the fastest time. Stuart White, South African racer, moves into Africa Racing, which is their Ferrari run for them by Dragon Racing, up to 5th place on aggregate. Now 0.3 of a second is covering on aggregate the top 5 cars. Oh. This is how we like it.
Indeed. Another yellow flag out at turn 15 at the moment has been withdrawn, so a momentary runoff at the final corner, as we have just over 6 minutes to go. Just looking up, let's see who's out on track. I see a name that you may know. Who is James Kay? Down
a young British racing driver who didn't win production saloon championships in a Suzuki Swift a very long time ago. Didn't step up and shine in touring cars, and he's been a big fan of the 24H races for a long time, bringing on drivers from sort of all around the world, but also running the team, going great guns. Just want to point out, we heard about Red Camels, Jordan's, getting their car into the garage, putting it away early in the second to get ready for the second session, because you've got Rick Breukers coming in, and he's fastest in the 992 class. That's down in 23rd overall. Top, we've been looking at Aaron Scott in his own cruise car, the Scott Sport Lamborghini. He's top in the GTX class. But out front, it's still the 87 Winwood Racing Mercedes, fastest in session 1, and as Sergei Borisov picks up his pace, it's now moved their aggregate 0.2 of a second clear of that 99 Attempto Racing Audi.
We got 5 minutes to go, and we've already got a number of cars in the pits after finishing, and it was Rick Breukers who did all of the work. They're still first in the 992, and he's pitted again, and it's just amazing. They did this last weekend as well, right? They'll go out and do an out lap, a hot lap, and come back in. So they're really saving the tyres for that third stanza, but they are leading the 992 category by quite a way over Mueller Motorsport. Valters Vides at the wheel of that one, the 918 currently second in that, and they've got GTX and GT3 cars between them. Gabriel Piana, well, wasn't he a racer last weekend? My goodness, he set the fastest lap ever on lap 3 of the 24-hour, and then did it all again on about lap 500, only to be taken away a little bit later. But boy, what a drive he did last weekend in the Winwood racing car.
As you were looking at a timing screen, I wanted to whack you on the shoulder, say this one's going to get you excited, of course, because you've been raving about the German-based Italian's form. But it's great to see him in GT3. He spent a lot of time. He's the gold standard, platinum standard in GT4. There's literally nothing he hasn't won in that, but he's very much deserving of this break. And he's come here and he's settling down, setting quick laps. Now another person needs picking out, young British driver Mikey Porter. He's moved up the 33 Optimum Motorsport McLaren up to third place overall on aggregate. The top 3 cars covered by just over 0.2 of a second. It's still the 87 Mercedes ahead of the 99 Tracer Attempter Racing Audi. Winwood Racing from Tracer Attempter Optimum Motorsports up into that third position overall with their McLaren. We've got plenty of manufacturer variety, which is exactly how we like it, how the fans like it as well.
Yeah, 2 McLarens out there racing, Optimum Motorsport and Garage 59. Optimum Motorsport ran last weekend. Garage 59, new entry for this weekend. They could have taken number 59. They took 58 for Garage 59. You would
just to trip up the commentators.
I just went, seriously, you're confusing me now. As Stuart White brings the Inter-Africa Racing by Dragon Racing, located at Dubai Autodrome. They're running 2 cars this weekend. They're also running the 98. Now, that's not their normal number. They're running the 98, which is not a Ferrari. Okay, that is a Porsche. And the 98 is a Porsche 911 GT3R 991 Type 2. Okay, so it's early, so it can't run in the 992 category. But that's Jim Getty and Glyn Getty, both Scottish, and Phil Keane this weekend. They're great regulars in our national Pro Car Series run here in the Middle East. They are supported by Dragon Racing, and they've brought that beautiful Porsche down here this weekend.
Yeah, it gives you a real sort of double take. When I went past, had a look. Ferrari, yeah, nice. Well, hold on, that's a different shape. Ferrari in the background.
Exactly. Good to see. Winwood Racing still at the top of the timing board from Tresor Attempto Racing. And once again, I've got to jump on the back of what John was saying. How did they get that done? That car was absolutely in pieces last weekend. It was a massive hit on the main straight, the back straight at Dubai Autodrome, and well done to the whole Tresor Attempto Racing team. We didn't think they'd get it in that car, and I think John will do a bit of investigation to see what was another car. Maybe it was another Audi that wasn't running down here but ran at Dubai that they were able to do a deal with.
Right, well, SMP Racing, we talked about how they had a bit of bodywork damage. Well, the car's absolutely flying. Fastest lap of qualifying so far, beating Renat Salikov's time from qualifying session number 1. 1 minute 52.475. Alexander Smolya moves up to third overall. But there's life in the pit lane. Is it good or is it bad?
There's always life in this old dog, Bruce. You should know that by now. I'm delighted to say that I'm standing next to Adam Konopka, which means ARC Bratislava is back. We had the Super Trofeo Huracan last weekend. Good to see the GT3 car back. How was that out there? It looked a bit hairy and a bit busy.
Yeah, I didn't have a single lap without someone stopping me. Or the full grid is full. Many cars. It's shame that there is only one GT3 Lamborghini, and yeah, it was overall good. I'm happy.
Great to see the team back. They've been such great supporters of Creventic and the Michelin 24-hour series. Is this a one-off here at Dubai, or we're going to see you coming into Europe? I know you've been doing some Asian Le Mans series driving, maybe getting a bit of sneaky practice in here for you.
Yeah, we will also attend the races in Europe. Mugello is one of them, 12 hours, and maybe Spa. We will see. But yeah, you can see us in Europe as well.
That sounds great. We're really looking forward to that. Tell me about the race tomorrow. What tactics can you have when you've got so many cars on track? Or is it just basically drive as fast as you can?
Well, we will see how we will qualify, but I hope it will be somewhere between 20-10 place. Yeah, but for the race, I am silver driver, so I can drive only 1 hour and a half. So, and my dad is manager of the team, so he will think of a tactic also with our engineer.
And who's going to do the last session for you in that beautiful multicoloured Lamborghini?
It will be my brother. He came here after 2 years, sat in the car and said beautiful time, so it will be him. My dad will be starting, so yeah.
It's a proper family outing this weekend, and I'm lovely to see you and ARC Bratislava. Good luck for the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic to have the Konopkas and ARC Bratislava. They've been a stalwart of the 24-hour series. Missed the last couple of races, but fantastic. And also great to see them doing more events with Creventic this year.
It is, and of course, remember they built their own car about 10, 12 years ago and brought it out to Dubai. But right now, Winward Racing, they've been going well in practice. The checkered flag has fallen. They're now first and second because your man, Gabriel Piana, has moved up to second place overall. The aggregate difference between them actually has really stretched out despite him lapping in
about 4/10 of a second, yeah.
52.5. So that is, you know, stonkingly good time. But he's, 4/10 of a second down on the sister car. But for Winward Racing, they've looked good every time they've been out on the circuit with their Mercedes AMGs. Looking down at the pits, super busy as the cars coming in, but the wind is really,
it's howling down there.
And it's coming from turn 16 all the way down to turn 1. Don't forget to brake a little bit.
Yeah, my hair's a mess up here. We're getting so much wind coming through the commentary box. But checkered flag is out. Everybody back into the pits now. So when they go out for this next session, Bruce, they've got a lot lighter fuel load. And we see the McLaren already getting out there, trying to queue up. They're getting in this queue, trying to get that clear track for this final critical session. Yes, we're running less fuel loads. It looks like, parking in downtown Abu Dhabi at the moment down there. There's cars stacked up and down the pit lane. A fantastic sight here at the Yas Marina circuit. It won't be long until that third session gets on away, and who can bring it to Winward Racing, because we know Gabriel Piana knows these tyres now really well. He knows how to put in fast lap, so he's done the right thing and got that car to where they need it, and so in that 16 car, who's going to be out next, because they have 4 drivers this weekend.
Well, I would suggest it would be Victor Scheitar in next. Yes. My money.
Well, he's the semi-pro, and so is Gabriel. So that would be, I think your money is safe on that one, Bruce.
My money is spent, I'm afraid, Phil. Right, so still cars coming in. This is the thing. The clock does not stop. They need to get in very shortly in the third and final session starts at 18:20. It's already past 18:18, so they'll be coming in as cars like the Garage 59 McLaren are going back out.
Yeah.
It means it reduces their time in the car. But just remember, as we said, you go up an ascending scale of driver ranking. So the safest pairs of hands should be in this final session. But on a track where it's getting dark out there, you talked about the lighting at Yas Marina circuit. It's very strong indeed, but it's just changing circumstance. However, they're fully used to full darkness because they were racing out here in practice past 11 o'clock last night.
Yes, indeed. We were listening to the cars as they audibly well, we could hear them quite clearly from our hotel, which is just adjacent to the track. But lots of track time for everybody to get used to these new Michelin tyres for this race and on this circuit, and it's a learning process for everybody. But all the teams that are here and that raced in Dubai last weekend are going to have a huge advantage on the teams who didn't come out, who are only running the European Creventic Championship, because it's a massive thing.
It really is. We talk about motor racing, about the big things. It's down on the little things as well. But if you do not understand how your car is working on its tyres, you are going to be so behind the cue ball. So proper darkness out around the Yas Marina circuit. One more 15-minute qualifying session. And for the mathematicians among you, you can do the aggregates in your head. But we luckily have a timing screen that has an average for us. And 1 minute...
IRC.
Yeah, but 1 minute 52.6 seconds is the aggregate for the 87 Winward Racing Mercedes. That is outstandingly fast. So ARC Bratislava being pushed down the pit lane just to keep those Konopkas fit.
Indeed, maybe a issue of saving fuel.
Or it could be. What? It could be indeed. So the lights are on, and the bridge, the sort of aerial bridge above the circuit over the W Hotel, changing from red to blue. The sky is dark. Planes still landing at the airport just away from the circuit, but bright lights in the pit lane, in the windy pit lane, in the packed pit lane. And let's go down to Dye just before the cars blast off.
I'm joined by Rick Broikers, just jumped out of the number 909 red Camel car. Rick, you put in a quick time on that second qualifying session. How challenging was it out on the circuit?
It was quite okay. We were completely in front, so we didn't have too much traffic in the first lap. Unfortunately, that one got cancelled due to track limits. Then the second lap was a bit more safe, but it was good enough for P1 in my session. And currently we're also leading the average times. So now with Q3 going on and Lucas in the car, let's see where we end up.
Yeah, it comes down to the strategy calls in the end, doesn't it, here? Because things are changing minute by minute out there on the circuit. And, of course, a big grid of cars here, which is fantastic to see. So pretty busy in the pit lane.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's quite busy in the pit lane, but also on the track. So you just have to find a gap and do your time. You only have one lap, I think, without traffic if you're lucky. So you have to make it count, and luckily we did. So let's see how Q3 will end up.
How would you describe a lap of this circuit?
Sorry?
How would you describe a lap of this circuit?
It's quite intense. You have quite some wide areas, but also under the hotel with some guardrails really close by. So it has a bit of everything. I really like it. I really enjoy driving here. So I'm looking forward to the race.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Di, and thank you, Rick. And we're just looking now at the next cars going out. 13:24 to go in this session. Luke Broeker's at the wheel of the 909, currently leading the 992 category for who's going to be on pole tomorrow. And it's so close up the top between Winwood Racing, Tresor Attempto Racing. Sergei Sirotkin is at the wheel of the SMP Racing number 7 Mercedes AMG. Are we going to see some fireworks from Sergei?
Be very rude not to. One feels so right. The clock is already counting down from 15 minutes, and we've got, as I pointed out earlier, 26 GT3 cars in this 50-car field, and 2 cars got parked up and haven't come out to play for this qualifying session. A small modicum of relief for everybody else out there. 2 cars fewer getting in their way. Proper darkness, but I must say that the lighting over the Asmarina circuit is super, super strong. No twilight light for them. It's daylight to daylight as far as the track is concerned. Super, super bright. But I thought when we heard Rick Brewers being asked to describe the track, he's just going to say busy. It most notably is. We've had a few spinners, and the driver you've been talking about this weekend, Cameron McLeod, is out on the track, young Australian racer.
Indeed, he raced for Ajit Kumar Racing in the 992 car last weekend in Dubai. Came down here this weekend running with Continental TTR Racing, local-based team. Spoke with Cameron yesterday afternoon about the expectations. He's had a lot of GT4 experience, but last year he was driving the V8 supercars at the Bathurst 1000 for Premier Racing in the Camaro, and he does a lot of Super 2 V8 racing in Australia, and it's great to have him down here. He gave me a really good indication of how these new Michelin tyres are working, and he's great. It's great that he wasn't planned to be driving as a very late entry, but he is dynamite quick, and that car currently leading the category in GT4. Yes, it is, from WS Racing in their BMW M4 GT2, followed by the third BMW 2, and then we've got the Porsche 718 Cayman. They're all blocked together down there. Continental TTR Racing, WS Racing, Simpson Motorsport, and SRS Team Sorg Rennsport.
What do you need for a quick lap? You need clear track. Who just lost that? One of the drivers I was going to earmark for shining in this session, Axel Jeffries, had a real wobble, went off the circuit, so it means he's going to have to get another lap out of his car at the moment. Into Africa Racing by Dragon is down in 8th place for car number 8. That gives us a helping hand, but this would have been a good lap. However, he's had to back out of it, sort it out, and start all over again. He's being flashed from behind, but importantly, he put one of the 992, it's a Mercedes AMG behind him, and now this should be the lap. The Middle East-based Zimbabwean driver can really nail it.
Now, his team at the Race and Drive School, he's head of the Race and Drive School here, they will absolutely tear him to pieces about messing up that lap, because he's an instructor at this circuit.
Maximising his opportunities in a minimising sort of way.
Now, we used to see Axel Jeffries driving with Barron Motorsport for the last couple of years, and so he's changed this year, but I had a chat with him at Dubai. He raced up there as well. So, yeah, blotted his copybook a little bit on that one, did Mr. Jeffries, and back racing with Into Africa Racing by Dragon Racing. So they're 2 cars out here this weekend.
Okay, Sergei Sirotkin, we talked about how the SMP Racing number 7 Mercedes was picking up the pace. It's now fastest on average, because the first flying laps in the 3rd qualifying session have come in. 1 minute 53 seconds flat. We've seen times in the 1 minute 52s, but traffic is going to have a role to play. Who's going to keep their nose the cleanest?
9.5 minutes to go. It's rocking from the Climax Racing car. That's a really good effort from that car. Louis at the wheel at the moment, and then it's the Garage 59 McLaren with Louis Pret at the wheel, leading Axel Jeffries. And then it's the Continental Racing by Simpson, the Continental Racing team based here in the UAE. And they've moved up. David Pasogan has moved up that 69 car up into 5th. And then Baron Motorsports, Philippe Pret in the 86 car, currently in 6th position. And then we have Tanat Sathan Thirical in the Earl Bamber Motorsport car. Now, Earl not racing this weekend, raced in Dubai, but obviously he's doing the Raw at Daytona this weekend as he continues his way on his Cadillac journey.
So fastest time in session 3, still the drive at the top of the charts on aggregate as well. Oh, one of the 992 Porsches off, well, shortcutting the circuit at turn 6 through 7 and rejoining. All behind can now relax. But again, you talked about drivers who spend time at the race school here, who do the Middle Eastern series here, and of course at Dubai as well. Little local knowledge goes a long way, but also a lot of these drivers have driver coaches as well who know the circuits well.
Well, they employ a lot of guys from the race and drive school, a lot of our drivers there who have massive experience around this circuit, not in GT3 cars, in LM cars as well, because obviously the Asian Le Mans Series race here in a couple of weekends' time as well. So lots of very experienced drivers out there and driver coaches out there just complementing what are already... I said to Johnny last weekend, we don't have any bad drivers in this field. We have AM, very good drivers, Pro-Am, very, very good drivers, and Pro, very, very, very good drivers. And that's what they are. They are all excellent at their craft. It's just putting that together. We are now 7.5 minutes to go, and it's a Mercedes front row at this stage.
Yep, it's 87 still at the top of the charts. That's the Winwood Racing entry, and just got Gabriele Piana still listed, but we saw him in the previous session, or did we? Maybe there was a timing glitch. Anyhow,
well, there's either a timing glitch or they didn't change the driver identifier.
Yeah,
now that's a penalty if they don't do that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Right, who's going well? We've seen the number 58 McLaren from Garage 59 pressing on. That was very quick in the hands of Adam Smalley, but actually it's down the charts of fairway. Louis Pret on board. His father, Philippe Pret, is competing here in another car. But he's going well. He's picking it up to 8th place overall. I expect a little more to come from him. In fact, his best lap so far wasn't good, but don't forget we're having a lot of lap times taken away from exceeding track limits.
52.469 for Louis Pret on that one. The fastest lap for that car. Still currently 8th in GT3.
Fastest lap for any car, so that is the new gold standard. That's why Louis Pret's moved up. He's got traffic. He's getting around one of the 992 class Porsches. Can he hang it around the corner? He's having to run very deep into the next corners to get around it, but gets the job done. That won't have helped his lap too much, but 1 minute 52.4 seconds.
That's quick.
Tidy.
Well, the problem they have is these 992 Cup cars don't carry as much downforce, so they're absolutely dynamite fast on the big straights that we have here, coming from turn 3 down to turn 5, from turn 5 to turn 6, from turn 7 to turn 9. They are really, really quick. And on a fuel tank of fuel in a GT3 car and a 992 Cup car on a quarter tank of fuel, that is a real problem for the GT3 cars.
Well, imagine what it's like when they're racing on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. The Langstrecken series, they come out onto that long, long drag alongside the public road, and we've heard a Ferrari spinner, car number 86. That's the latest one to go.
Baron Motorsport.
Exactly, Baron Motorsport.
And it's, Philippe Pret.
Yeah, we mentioned Louis Pret, and Philippe Pret getting very close indeed to. In fact, it was the Dragon Racing Geddy car that was. They were very close, and then facing the wrong way in the track, just looking for the moment to get out of there very quickly indeed. But it's back pointing in the right direction. It's ranked 14th overall, but for Baron Motorsport, those tyres won't be quite as sweet. And ironically,
there wasn't much between that. There was a breath between those two cars.
In snooker terms, the red nearly hit the blue. In racing terms, it was the Ferrari nearly hitting a Porsche.
Oh dear.
There's the Ferrari rejoin. So calm down, settle down. Can anyone do anything about the 87 Windward Racing Mercedes, top of the charts with an aggregate of 1 minute 52.6, and its last lap was a 1 minute 52.7. So their three drivers have been incredibly close. We're talking tenths of a second, maybe only a tenth of a second between each of them. That is why they're top of the charts, quick and consistent.
Yeah.
What's left on the clock? Not a whole lot more time. Under 5 minutes remain.
Just over maybe 2.5 laps to go. If you're cycling your tyres, you're on a cool down lap, getting ready to go for that last blast as you come past the start-finish line, keeping an eye on all of the classes. It's that Mikkel Mack in the Scott Sport Lamborghini leading the GTX. Luke Breukers in the Red Camel Jordans.NL leading the 992 category, leading 992 AM, defending champions. Julian Hanses at the wheel of the QMMF by HRT. 992 AM Cup car, going further down the list to see who is leading. GT4 is Continental Racing by TTR. In the TCE category, it's the beautiful Alpine A10 Cup car, Chazelle Technology Course. Luca Desranges at the wheel of that. They're currently leading the TCE category.
Clock counts down. The car that's fastest on aggregate is parked in the pit lane. Still telling us it's Gabriele Piana, but they also told us he was driving in qualifying session number 2. We'll keep an eye on that, because if there's a penalty coming for not having the right driver. Oh dear, Philippe Pret has gone for another rotation and is sitting at the side of the circuit.
Turn 5 again.
Yep, so just to refresh your memory, because of the changing corners here in the last 3 years or so, that is was originally about turn 7, wasn't it?
Yes.
You used to go through the chicane, so you got through the first wonderful sweep, turn 1, and turning sharply to the left, a little left at 2, at 3 you're turning to the right, and then getting down to turn 5. But around he went all on his own, just getting the power down a little too soon as he exited the corners to get onto that long drag down to turn 6. You can imagine the ambition to get the power down as soon as you can, but maybe not quite enough heat in those Michelins. Of course, they would have cooled down as he was rejoining the circuit after his previous rotation.
And it's not going to help you. You're going to have to get the bump, you're going to have flat spots out of that tyre. And you don't have much time. We've got 2.5 minutes to go. You're going to be driving around shaking your fillings out. It wasn't a big lock-up. Cameron McLeod still doing the numbers out there to keep the 496 beautiful-looking Supra at the top of the class. They won their class at the Dubai 24-hour last year. They came 3rd this year. Last year, they due to a technical failure, they basically were leading the GT4 class, and a technical failure robbed them of 8 minutes, and they lost that lead. So redemption is a big part of their weekend, and they're also they need to be competing because they're part of the Middle East Trophy.
Right, 2 minutes remaining in this third and final qualifying session, and the Toyota we've been talking about at the top of the charts in the GT4 class, which actually puts them down in 44th position of the 50 runners, but that's to be expected with 26 cars in the top class. We mentioned Optimum Motorsport going very well, and they are up to 3rd on aggregate and staying there in this third qualifying session, because young racer Tom Aiken, British driver, has put in a very tidy lap. Their aggregate, though, is 0.8 of a second down on the 87 Windward Racing Mercedes. I said they were quick, but just the fact they are so consistent. The top 3, well, the 3 drivers in that 87 Mercedes have been within a tenth of each other. And you add those together, no wonder their aggregate times are amazing. Best of all.
Absolutely amazing. Now, our top 2 cars are already boxed with 1 minute to go. Gabriele Piana in the Windward Racing car, Sergei Sorokin in the SMP Racing. Thomas Ilken is still out there. Axel Jeffries has boxed that one. But Bruce, we've got a Pro-Am car, GT3 Pro-Am car, leading the way at the moment. Don't tell me that balance of performance that Creventic Sec doesn't work.
Well, wait and see. Checkered flag is almost being proffered, and the...
That's the 33 going very slowly.
Well, this is the McLaren we're just talking about with Tom Aiken. He's
getting ready for a lap. He's getting ready for a lap. 38 seconds to go. He's at turn 15.
Exactly.
And there's a yellow flag at turn 16.
Okay.
Oh, no. The yellow flag is going to rob him of getting that lap done properly.
No, but the point is he should surely just be getting onto what will be his final lap. We've got 24 seconds to go, and he's working his way around the circuit. It'll be less traffic because quite a few cars have already pitted. Yes. But these little elements, you build your plan, you get it together. And now he's got nobody immediately in front of him. He's got clear track, and he's letting those horses fly.
Yeah, he's got the 914 up the road. Is already down at turn 5, so he's going to have a clean run of this. We'll just keep an eye on his split times as he makes his way down through turn number 4. Hard on the brakes for turn number 5 in the beautiful looking McLaren. around turn number 5. Now the long run down the straight. Nobody to bother him. He's got a Porsche right behind him, but he's going to leave that behind. So I can't see what number it is because the dots are already over us as we're looking at our tracker. Got the clock on at the moment.
It's Herbert Motorsport.
The 80.
It's run off the track behind him. Shortcut. That's a Herbert.
That's a Herbert. That's at 5.6. So
5.6.
The Herbert Motorsport car is now in front of him. That's the problem. So that car now, because he was on the brakes, and you can see he's all over the flashes trying to get that done. Checkered flag is out. We had a flag at turn 7, but that was for the Herbert car going off.
Okay, and I tell you what, Joel Sturm, young German racer, is on board the errant Porsche, and it really was errant. It basically, the track goes to the left and then it comes to the right, and he did neither of those. He went straight on. He's sitting about a second or so, not even that, ahead of the McLaren, and he set a very quick time last time round. 1 minute 53.1 for Joel Sturm. He's got the pace, but it's what Tom Aitken can do, the 21-year-old Brit. 21-year-old shouldn't be driving cars as nice as this. Oh, I'm just being old-fashioned. But he really backed it off on the previous lap. He came off the pace by about 15 seconds. Now it looks like he's done the same. I think that's been scuppered for him. The checkered flag has fallen.
He's in the box. He's in the box. So that does it for that. Now, penalties. Are there any that are outstanding for any of our leading cars? And at the moment, I'm looking at the 974 got a lap done, the 110 got a lap done, 978 got a lap done. Nobody in the top really got any of the laps done. They did keep it there.
Okay, let's just run down the order. The checkered flag has fallen. The last few cars are coming in, but the top runners are all in the pits, with the exception of the second Winward Racing Mercedes, which is I can't tell where it is around the lap, but 87 Winward Racing Mercedes, top at the end of first session, top at the end of the second, top at the end of the third. So Gabriele Piana bringing that to a conclusion. Sergei Sirotkin completed a really good run for SMP Racing to go second, and McLaren in third, with Tom Aitken completing it for Optima Motorsport. And Axel Jeffries did redeem himself, Phil. A local star, of course, and he put Into Africa Racing by Dragon their Ferrari into 4th place overall. Top in GTX, while Scott Sport had Mikkel Mack at the wheel of their Lamborghini. That was always going to be top. Top in the 992 class, of course. Luke Broyker's doing a fantastic job building it on. But let's go down to the pit lane to get the latest interviews.
Thank you, and the pole position team are with me now, all here smiling very happily, the number 87. Gabriele, I think you just jumped out taking qualifying 3. Were you consistent in your times, and were you happy with the performance that you were pushing at that point? Because you had, obviously, you were within 10 seconds of each of you during those 3 sessions.
Yeah, well, everything went very well, so I knew that the boys did an amazing job before Q3, so especially Renat in Q1 did unbelievable performance. So it was just a matter of getting a lap in, and I knew that we would have been in front no matter what, because we had a huge advantage. Here, it's always a matter of finding the gap. You never get a clean lap. I think even in my lap I overtook like 3 cars, but it is what it is, so it's the same for everyone. I'm just happy. I'm very proud of Renat and Sergei. They did a fantastic job. The team also. The cars are both fast, and we can fight with them both for tomorrow's win, and I look forward to it.
Sergei, this is the perfect start for the 6-hour race.
I just say thank you, our team. It's a very good team, and best day for me. Thank you very much.
That's great. You see, he was absolutely fine. Renat, we chatted after Q1, and obviously you said, very happy with the performance in that session, keeping your fingers crossed, but you seem to breeze it today.
Yeah, I think we was lucky today for sure, but the job not done. It's still 6 hours of racing, and it will be tough for sure. So we still keep our fingers crossed for the result. So the guys in a good shape, definitely no any issue with that. So good luck for all of us for the race for tomorrow.
We'll get a restful night, and we'll see you tomorrow. That's the number 87 Winward Racing Team.
Thank you very much, Di, and I will now hang my head in shame. Our confusion over Gabriele Piana was, of course, he's running in both of those Mercedes from Winward Racing, as are 2 other drivers, and Renat Salikov in the pair of them. So the flags are blowing, the session is sorted, qualifying is done. 3 sessions really quick fire, almost impossible to keep on top of all the action. But let's take a look at the graphics. Who ended up top? We've mentioned them before. 87 Winward Racing Mercedes. There they are. In the end, clear by effectively half a second or so over another Mercedes from SMP Racing, with Sergei Sirotkin completing the vote in. Tom Aiken, we looked at him right at the end, hoping to squeak his way up, but a good run for their McLaren from Optimum Motorsport to go third. The best of the Ferraris into Africa Racing by Dragon in fourth place overall. A whisker ahead of Tracer Attempto Racing, who, it's a miracle they're here with their Audi, and to get fifth, well, they were building on the work of Alex Arca at the front. Winward Racing, as we said, very much a crew with three drivers who swap between the two cars and a guest driver in each of those, and they take sixth place overall. Climax Racing in from China, putting in a remarkably good job to be seventh, and the BMW Evo, the M4 GT3 Evo, looking very good, very tidy in eighth overall. Garage 59, the second of those McLarens, in ninth overall, and Herpeth Motorsport, the top Porsche runners, in 11th place overall. And there are the drivers. In fact, if you look at those in car 87, car 16, you'll see three names that are driving all of those: Victor Scheiter, Gabriele Piana and Sergei Borisov.
Team Motor Park finished in 11th position. Manamari Energy by Ebby Motors in 12th position. Hupp Racing Team in 13th. Continental Racing by Simpson Motorsport in their R8 in 14th. Barra Motorsport in the 488 GT3 Evo, not the 296, in 15th position. Elbaba Motorsport in 16th in their Aston Martin Vantage. Haas RT finishing in 17th position, and then Proton Huber Competition in 18th, the 73 car. 98 Dragon Racing in the 911 GT3R, and in 20th position it was a dynamic by GT by Tsunami RT and their Porsche. Rounding out a bit more of the GT field, a massive GT field we've got here this weekend, Bruce, as they continue on with the drivers.
Yeah, when it goes onto the third timing screen, it just shows how many we have, and in fact they fill obviously 26 cars across the top of the field. I've got to look, there are a couple that didn't quite get their times in. Things may have gone wrong. We'll find out when we go down to the pits afterwards to talk to them. Top car not in GT3 was in 23rd position overall. Scott Sport with their Huracan Super Trofeo Evo Lamborghini. Just ahead of GWR Australia, one of the crews who come here to play in a Mercedes. ARC Bratislava, we saw them have a slight problem, their car being pushed into the pits. So for the Konopka crew, down in 25th position overall, just ahead of the top car in the 992 Cup class, Red Camel Jordans. They worked all the tactics, got the Breukers gang out on the track following Fabian Danks.
I think they did 9 laps.
Yeah, economy of motion. Paul Truswell won't allow them anymore. Scuderia Pra there, and completing the top 30. But then we go into the world of the 992s. They have a blue flash behind their numbers. Mulner Motorsport, second in class, and the Qatari team, QMMF by HRT Performance, in 29th overall, third in class.
Yes, with 888 Seb Jalou Racing in 30th position. So the field of the 992 category keeping close together this weekend. As we go to the 971, the 31st of the Rabdan by Fulgenzi, and 32nd as well for Fulgenzi Racing. Razoon Morton Racing in the 914, 33rd. Salicon by Cox Racing in the KTM Cox running in the GTX category, 34th. Another of the 992 Cup cars in 35th, TFT Racing. HRT Performance in 36th. WeBuyAnyFi.com Racing by Simpson Moto M4 GT3 in 37th. 111 Racing, the Australian entry, in 38th. Seb Jalou Racing by Climax in 39th, and Speed Lover in the 992 category in 40th position.
Remember, we're going to go down to 50th overall because, of course, we have 50 cars that came out to qualify. They had to do the 3 qualifying sessions, and a handful of teams had light problems, but I think we got away really quite clearly there. Down to the cars you expect to find at the back, the 2 very, very pretty Chazelle Technology course Alpine A10 Cup cars, and one of them we saw going wide and wider still, kept away from the tyre walls, but and between them is the Leon Cup Racer, probably the oldest car in the race. Of course, Scuderia Praha with their 488 Ferrari, that's knocking getting a few years on the clock, but Asbest Racing out there having fun. And they weren't slowest either.
Well, they had 2 cars up in Dubai, and between them, they would have spent 20 hours in the garage. So getting that car down here and making it work, a pretty good effort from that team. A lot of local drivers are driving that. Nader Zahur, who I used to race with back when I last raced here at Yas in 2009. He was in a TCR and I was in a Clio Cup car. But it's great to see the teams coming across, employing local drivers who have a lot of track experience. And it's very important in this place to get the experience, local knowledge at circuits is just invaluable.
No, entirely too. And don't forget, of course, they're accustomed to racing in all sorts of temperatures here, so getting the tyres to work. And here this weekend, it must probably be about as easy as it can be. Clement, warmish weather and dry too so far. You came in a few hours before qualifying and said rain might be on the way. Luckily it didn't. But let's take a look back at the highlights of the first qualifying session, the second qualifying and the third. We added all those laps together, did an average, did our maths, and Winwood Racing with the 87 Mercedes came to look at the top of the charts. Let's take a look back at the action, see how it shaped out. It was about keeping it neat, keeping it clean,
yes,
getting the tyres up to temperature and not making mistakes.
UAE flag was flying proudly, and the first section we had the spinners, we had contact between the 111 and 38. Going into darkness after that first session. We're right near the airport, so there were planes aplenty and people were flying in this second session. The GT3 car setting the 5.281 kilometres of the Yas Marina circuit alight. Lights on top of the hotel as we had spinners all over the place in that second session. Cars running off the track down at the 5-6 chicane. 86 having a flaming moment there on the circuit. Circuit track limits were a big problem for a lot of the teams. But at the end of the day, it was the 87 car of Winwood Racing who will be on pole to start the Michelin 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi. And there's the timings there, 10 a.m. GMT local time. We will be on air at the Radio Show Limit network of channels and the 24hourseries.com for live pictures and for scoring. You get all of that action all the way through to the finish. The race starts at tomorrow morning at 10:30. In 10:30 and finishes at 4:30 in the afternoon. Thank you to Di Binks and John Hindorf down in the pit lane. Bruce Jones with me, Phil Anson in the commentary box. We look forward to your company tomorrow when we go racing here at the Yas Marina circuit for the Michelin 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi. Bye for now.